All right, Mayor, there was I almost want to say, well, I guess special council meeting on Thursday the 19th. I guess it was bumped up from its regularly scheduled time. Maybe just talk about the circumstances that we're operating under now, why the special time for the meeting, and then we'll get into some of the items that I think had to do with the council meeting getting bumped up, right? There was somewhat of an urgency to deal with some of these issues.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there have been a lot, as you've seen. The governor has put certain restrictions on the size of meetings and whatnot. And fortunately for us in government, we can get around some of those. But we still want to practice good social distancing and everything else. And we don't know, with as rapidly as everything is going, where everything is going to be next week. So Steve made the decision, and I agree with it completely, to move that council meeting that would have been next Tuesday, move it up to a special meeting that we had last night. And it was basically, we went over some different things, and I'm sure Steve will talk about these items later as far as what we'll be doing here in City Hall with decreased hours and whatnot. And again, none of this is in a state of panic or anything. We're just being very proactive as the governor and the president and community leaders are saying the more we can do to get ahead of this and do our part, the better off we're going to be. You know, there's a misconception out there, I think, by a lot of people that are younger and that are healthy, that this will bypass them, and it very well could. But they could still carry it to somebody that is either elderly, or because this is really attacking folks that are elderly and with underlying medical conditions. And if they're elderly and have underlying medical conditions, then they're really susceptible. And so we're just trying to be proactive with that. And I would just like to say that as well, Steve and I have met this week numerous times with other community leaders that include the fire department, the police department, Mackey. We have Jay Schrader from the Marshfield Clinic Hospital Systems, the both school district, the Columbus schools, and the school district of Marshfield. We just have a lot of different people involved in planning and preparation. So we are very, very well prepared. One thing I'm very happy with is if you do need help, the United Way is there to help, and they've done a great job. Ashley Wench and her team over there of keeping people fed. And the school district has done a great job. I believe it was yesterday or maybe it was Wednesday that they gave out 644 meals. And that's times two, because it's 644 for breakfast and 644 lunches that they're giving to students that can come over there and pick them up. So I believe that our school districts, both, Columbus, the school systems there, as well as the school district of Marshfield, have been outstanding. And so as more and more restrictions are imposed, there's going to be more and more that take place. As a brief update, we just found out from the Department of Health and Human Services in Wisconsin, there's been a total of 3,455 people tested, and of that now the tested positive is up to 206. And there's one in Southwood County, and there's also one in Marathon County. So the key thing is diligence, and I believe we're doing that. And Steve has talked with city staff. He came up with the city's COVID response. I'm sure he'll go over with you briefly. And Steve is doing a great job of being proactive with city staff. The city's still going to continue to move on, but we have to do city services. We have to have police. We have to have fire. We have to have streets. We have to have administration to administer. But it's, we are very, very aware of what is taking place.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that Bob covered well, and I thank him for his leadership in the council, that they certainly were receptive to some of the things we're talking about doing and have been doing as far as limiting access to some of our facilities and trying to protect our employees. And I don't want our employees to get lost in this. We are here for the public, we're here to serve, but we're also an employer like any other organization. So we get the same questions in this building that they do in any other building in the city, whether it's a commercial or industrial operation or whatever. And that is, people want to know that their own safety is protected, which is why we are now limiting access to this building, apart from elections, to just employees. We'll certainly handle all the questions, but we're trying to encourage online activity, emails, phone calls, whatever. But in trying to help public safety for this community, we also want to make sure that the people working so hard here feel like they are also being safeguarded to the greatest degree possible. So I also applaud what Bob was saying too about the effort that this community has already started to make in terms of a broader response. There's only so many things we can talk about right now, but know that the local leaders are working together, clinic, school district, all sorts of people, in terms of trying to, even beyond the health issue that we're dealing with, to try and look at it in a human and social way as well. We know people are going to be hurting. There's going to be concerns financially and otherwise. He just mentioned food deliveries that they've been doing to many families in need. So I think you'll see this community respond the way this community probably has for many years. I've only lived here for 9 years, but it's a place that people are dedicated to one another, and I think that will continue to show in the weeks ahead.
One thing is for information, for people that do want information on what's currently going on with the COVID virus and how it affects us here in Marshfield, is go to our city website, and right up at the top of it is an emergency icon where you could see, and when you go in there, you are going to go to a holding spot there where you've got access to the Marshfield Clinic Health Systems, all of our information, information from Marathon County, from Wood County, from the United Way, from Mackey, from all of our different partners, and it's a great place to get information. We're currently working on people that are, these are uncertain times. So, if people are scared or something like that, we'll have something coming down the road, hopefully in 7 to 8 days, that we'll be able to help with that, but that's further on down the road. And I would encourage everyone, be wary. If you could stay out of social situations, we'll get through this much quicker. And if you've got the ability to help somebody, maybe with Meals on Wheels, or maybe some elderly folks that maybe can't go out and run their errands or whatnot, this is the time where we need to come together. And then finally, if you want to get text alerts to your phone, you can go on, and the phone number would be 435-244-0712. So again, that's area code 435-244-0712, and text the word Marshfield. And if you do that, you will automatically get text updates. As the city gets information, so will you. So you will have access. Our media partners, all of our media partners have done a great job of getting information out there. Our website is tremendous, and then this is another avenue. And also keep an eye on our local police department is constantly doing updates on their page, Marshfield Police Department, as well as the fire department just put out a great video on what they're doing. So we're as prepared as we could possibly be, and we're not panicked in any stretch of the imagination, but we're prepared, and we're going to be diligent. We'll see this through.
Well, and then at the meeting itself on Thursday actually had kind of a weird feel to it because, social distancing and everyone's kind of spaced out throughout the room, right? That's kind of how it went.
Yeah, that was really weird. It was interesting because normally Steve and I, we kind of share our little nest up there, and even this is weird being this far.
It is.
And then but we were trying to practice social distancing, and then we had two aldermen, Mike Fire and Nick Peschel, down, and they had tables with mics, and they were looking up. And that's really the way. That's the way I think the whole world is right now. It's just different, and it feels weird. It's a new normal, but I'm hopeful. I'm very optimistic. We'll get back to normal. I just don't have a time frame on. I think that's the magic. That's the magic word. Is what is the time frame going to be?
And again, the meeting got bumped up to handle some kind of timely issues in terms of funding. Do I have that right? In terms of basically allowing city officials to handle things?
Yeah.
Steve, is that a question for you?
Yeah, for about a week or so now, Mike, there have been sample proclamations and resolutions going around the city administrators network and probably other places as well. And talking about emergency needs and trying to make sure that city staff and the chief elected official are authorized to take actions. This whole thing has been breaking so fast. While we're sitting here, there's probably things happening, and we're going to find out more about what's going on with COVID across the state and across the country. So, we don't have any reason to believe that suddenly, this afternoon, I'm going to have to call Bob and say, Bob, we need to spend $30,000 to do this. But there's things that might have to happen in terms of purchasing equipment, supplies, signing up for certain services, and to be able to say, well, our next council meeting's in 2 weeks. It's not budgeted, so we're going to have to bring a budget amendment to, budget resolution, is not the way you deal with an emergency. So I did talk to Bob earlier in the week, and he did sign a proclamation on Tuesday that gave that authority, but it needed to be ratified. That just carries you to the next regular meeting of your elected body, and then your elected body really needs to stamp its approval on that. So if you look at the actual proclamation that the mayor signed and that we adopted then by resolution later, it talks about authorizing the emergency purchase of goods and services and materials up to $50,000, and same with services, and also the payment of routine and necessary invoices, payroll and the regular bills we incur, those types of things, and also possible additional closures or limitations of use of city buildings and facilities. I think the $50,000 thing caught a couple of people. I got a couple of council members when they saw this, even before the meeting, saying, "Where did $50,000 come from? What are you guys going to buy? What are you planning on doing?" Most of the resolutions that were going across the city administrators network, in fact, I think almost all of them, didn't have any dollar amount. It just said, authorize emergency purchases as necessary. And we talked about it, and the city finance director, Ron Allman, said, I think that there maybe ought to be a dollar number on that. Not that we're going to spend it all, but at least they know that we couldn't go out and buy a Learjet or something and say what was important, because we had to fly to find out what they were doing in Colorado about the COVID. At least told the world that we understood there was a maximum, even if we don't really have the intent to spend anything today. We don't know of anything we would spend money on. And so some people said, well, wait a minute, $50,000, what do you have planned? The answer to that is nothing. But again, our next council meeting now won't be probably until at least April 14th, potentially later, depending upon the severity and duration of the pandemic. So business needs to continue, and I'm thankful that the council finally did approve it. There was a lot of debate, as the mayor may want to comment, in terms of should it be May 1st, should it be some other date? I think at one point Mr. Butke suggested August 1st, and that made people think, are we not going to have a council meeting until August? Are you serious? So we got a little bit maybe off track for a few minutes, but we came back and got the resolution approved.
Yeah, it was a very interesting conversation. It was, as Steve said, most places don't have a monetary amount in there. I think it was a very responsible thing to do. And if we had to go over 50,000, then we'd have to hold an emergency council meeting. And as Steve said, this isn't so that we can go out and go, hey, we need toner, let's go buy some toner. This is for emergency situations at all. If there's something from our emergency services that we just have to have. In our conversations, Steve and I have had a lot of conversations with other city leaders, and everybody's taking this very seriously, and it's moving very rapidly. If you just look at how this has moved in just 1 week, it's moving very rapidly, and so we're just, Steve and I have worked on this in the fact of it's better to be proactive instead of reactive. So we're trying to think of things down the road, and so I think in doing so, that leadership that Steve has shown is kept everybody within the city employees at a relatively level of calm, which is good. And there's things that we're doing for the employees that there could be to the point where some of them may work remotely. Not sure we're to that point yet. It's a possibility. And so Steve is getting that all in place now, which I think is far better than waiting until the accident to happen and then piling on. So some of the things that you prepare for never come to fruition, and right. Some things do. So I believe we're on a good track.
Well, and then basically from there, the council basically signed off on these provisions, recommendations to basically shut down city government here in terms of meetings, close City Hall to the public. There are some other things, but that was the direction the council went in?
That was the direction the council went in, and Steve did a great presentation. I'll let Steve tell you about that.
Thank you. And I think before we get into the particulars, Mike, I would call your attention to the second page, the first real page of what I gave to the council. And you sit back and you say, well, you got Mayor Bob McManus, City Administrator Steve Barg, department heads, and we got this pandemic situation going on. What is our real role? What are the things we need to be doing? What does the public expect from us? And we kind of found ourselves at staff level saying, well, we're here to provide essential services. We still have to do fire, police, public works, all the things people expect. Number two, they want to know that we're working to try and help protect their public safety, health, and welfare. That's at the core of city government. Number three, I mentioned earlier, our own staff wants to know that they're being taken care of. They want to be safe. They've got families. They've got sick, people depending upon them. They don't want to end up getting the virus if they shouldn't need to. And then fourth, which the mayor was talking about earlier, we want to partner with community leaders. We're not in silos. It's not like, well, hey, good job, school district. You keep doing your thing, and hey, over there, you guys, and keep doing your thing. We're here to work together, and Bob's been involved in conversations. I have as well about people's human needs, social needs. There's going to be issues of people struggling to make rent payments, and we're not going to go out and hand them a check necessarily, but how can we help bring some resources together to help make sure that people are getting food, that they're able to get through this rough time. And so the fourth piece is partnering with community leaders. So those four goals, I think as we go into the actions we've taken, are supposed to be the guiding, in my opinion, the guiding direction that we follow.
And Mayor, you're all on board, comfortable with that direction, and this is kind of the, the growing pains with this ever-changing situation that we have to sort of go through.
Absolutely. You certainly in the role and as mayor and as well as city administrator, you hope that experience. You'd like to have people to call, say, what has been your experience with this, and who do you call from other local cities that says, hey, what's your experience with a pandemic that just is running rampant? So a lot of this you have to take on, and you have to be willing to be proactive, always proactive to the point of taking care of staff and the public. Realistically, city government is the number one role of city government is public safety. So everything is that with that in mind. And public safety means staff safety. Everybody out there in the public, we're all going through this together. So I think the program that Steve has put together is excellent. I think it's very, very good. But at the same time, that program could be obsolete on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it could be overreaching a month from now. We won't know. So the good thing is Steve and the department heads put together a very, very good program that everybody is on board with. And what I will tell you, what I have been so impressed with in this week is the meetings that Steve and the department heads have had in being prepared and going through. I will tell you, this is a team going down the road together. And that doesn't just happen. That credit goes to Steve. And you see it throughout the city. And so I think that's very, very important to understand. A lot of cities, I don't believe, are fortunate enough to have that leadership that Steve provides. I know a lot of different cities can go in different directions and all this other stuff. That's just not happening here. It's there is one purpose here, and I think we will turn out as best as we possibly can.
Let me just add to that. Thank you very much. I appreciate those comments, Bob, and we're blessed to have the council and you to be supporting the things that we're doing. But I just want to say, and I think I've said it maybe at meetings before, I've been in government for 3 decades. I've been a city administrator now in 3 cities for about a quarter of a century, and I can honestly say with no hesitation that the staff we have right now, the leaders that we have in this community, are the best that I've had anywhere. When I sit in a room with the department heads that we have and we talk about these issues and we wrestle with them, we had a meeting here a week ago in this very room. We were here for 2 hours and trying to figure out where do we land on some of these things. How do we protect safety of the public and ourselves? It's a group that I am privileged and really blessed to work with. So I want to give that shout out to them, adding on to what the mayor said.
All right. Anything else on that stuff? Otherwise, I would just ask, was there anything at a closed session? There was a closed session.
Yeah, it was a fairly minimal item. We did take action in open session. I had a document here a minute ago just to refresh my memory, if you give me a second. Not a real important, big item. I guess everything's important. It's an employee who had an issue with an excused absence request. Somebody who had a non-work related injury that had kept them out of their job for a while. And our policy reads that in the event of an extended absence due to sickness, blah, 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 They may take an unpaid leave of absence and request us to go to the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee. But with respect to this particular situation, the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee was unable to meet. They didn't meet on Tuesday, so we went straight to the council, asking that this person's extended leave, unpaid, run through May 1st to allow this individual time to recover from their injury. And we also talked, I think I can say this, that our Human Resource Director, Jen Raku, said that we might want to take another look at that policy to see if it's still the way we want it to be. Again, I think this is just another idea of another circumstance of where we want to be employee friendly. There's only so many things we can do in the public sector. You know, we talk sometimes about how the business sector can maybe give bonuses, maybe not in the current environment with what's going on, but and the private sector has those kind of opportunities that we don't have. We want to be an employer of choice. We want people to know that what we can offer them and the way we can help them through some of their family issues or medical issues, we want to do what we can to show that to them. And this is just a small example of that.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know anything else.
I think we're good.